Bill, and I'm glad you're here. Let's finish putting together this Sliding Ladybug robot. We are now on step 11, which is to install the retainer clip onto the battery case. So we take the battery case and we take the retainer clip, and see that the retainer clip is a sort of a C-shaped piece of plastic. It has an opening in one side, and the battery case has a sort of a dip in its walls here. And so we put the opening over that dip because it can slide through, and then once it's on, we rotate it around so that it is now able to slide back and forth on the battery case. And we just slide it over to the positive end, and that's all that is involved in that step. So we check off step 11. Now, in step 12, we're going to start attaching the battery case to the robot that we're building. And step 12 is to attach the white wire to the negative end of the battery case. And the end of the wire has the insulation cut and it's stripped. And we want to twist the wires inside. So with that piece of insulation still on there, we twist the insulation around as we pull it off, and that gives these wires a nice twist and keeps them together. Otherwise, they tend to get scattered around. If you pull the insulation off and the wires didn't get twisted well, you can always just use your fingers and twist those wires together. But we want to get the little strands together so they behave as a single piece of wire. And then we take this bit of tubing that we have here, and we use our cutters to cut it in half. We're going to use half of it on the white wire and half of it on the black wire. And if you use your fingers to try to hold both ends of the tubing when you cut, you can save yourself having to chase a piece of tubing that might go flying away when the cutters snap closed. So we'll put one half back on the organizer, and we're going to take and put this piece of tubing right over the end of the white wire and slide it onto the white wire a little bit. Now, the negative end of the battery case is the one that has this sort of big flat part here. It also has the minus signs showing. So we take the bare wire and put it through the hole in that terminal, and then we turn it so that the wire is going kind of in the same direction as that terminal. You have to be careful because the wire is loose and it can pop out of there easily. You need to keep the bare part of the wire going through the hole in the terminal and staying in place while you slide this bit of rubber tubing up, and the tubing gets pushed up over the terminal, and you have to stretch the tubing. You push it and it stretches out and goes over the terminal. This is actually fairly hard to do. So just like putting the screws into plastic, you might need to get some help for this part to push this tubing on there. But once the tubing is pushed all the way on, that wire is fairly well secured, and we are done with step 12. We check it off, and we turn to step 13, which is really doing the same thing again, but with the black wire onto the positive end of the battery. So we get our piece of tubing, and we take the black wire now, and we twist the insulation and pull it off so that the end of the wire is kind of nicely twisted. We put the tubing onto the wire, and then you have to bend the white wire a little bit to get the battery case positive end around where you can get the black wire to it. But you're doing the same thing again. You put the bare wire through the hole in the terminal, and then sort of straighten the wire so that you can bring the tubing down the wire and push it over the terminal while keeping the wire in place. And once that is in place, the black wire is attached to the positive end of the battery case, so we check off step 13. And now that the battery case is attached to the wires, we want to take a couple of screws and attach the battery case to the body. But before we screw it on, we want to sort of gently move these wires around so that the battery case is in position. You see there are two little platforms with holes there, and the battery case sits right on top of those, and the holes in the bottom of the battery case line up with the holes in the body. And if you hold it in place with your finger, you want to be careful to take a look and make sure that the wires are not pinched between the battery case and the body. And then we take two of our medium screws, and I find it easier to hold a screw with the screwdriver and put it through one of the holes in the battery case. Having said that, I just dropped it. So I shake it back out on the work surface and try again. Put the screw through the hole. I'm dropping it again. It's a little bit of a tight fit in there for my large fingers. But there, I've got the screw in the hole in the battery case, and now I hold the screw in place with the screwdriver and move the battery case and the screw so that the screw is in the hole in the body. And then I tighten the screw a couple of turns to get it started, and it's going to hold the battery case in place even though it's loose. And now I check again to be sure that the wires are not getting pinched. And now I take the other screw and put it into the other hole in the battery case, and then put it into the hole in the body and get it started. And one last check to be sure no wires are being pinched between the battery case and the body. Looks okay. So I tighten up both of the screws. And the battery case is now attached to the body. And that is step 14 finished. And step 15 is kind of fun. can hardly call it a step. It's just to put the battery into the battery case. We put the positive end of the battery that has the plus sign on it into the positive end of the battery case, and then push the negative side of the battery down, and that negative terminal will spring out of the way and let it go into place. And then we slide the retainer back a bit. Doesn't have to go all the way. Sometimes the wires are a little bit in the way of it, but we want to get it just sort of somewhere around the middle of the battery, and it will be sure that the battery stays in place. So now the battery is in, the motor turns, and away it goes. In our next video, we're going to take a look at how all of this works now that we've put it together. AstuteKidDotCom